Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about altcoins. What if they bleed against Ethereum? If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Also check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. So, this video is probably going to make a lot of people unhappy. But remember, you're not mad at me, you're mad at the data. The whole idea is when you're in a cryptocurrency market cycle or a bull market, a lot of people like to pat themselves on the back for picking out altcoins that go up against the US dollar. However, in a bull market, a monkey could pick out altcoins that go up against the US dollar. It does not take any insider information or anything like that to figure out altcoins that might go up against the US dollar. All right, so let's go ahead and dispel that myth. It would actually be more impressive, in my opinion, if you could pick out the altcoins that aren't going to go up. Right? Pick out the altcoins that aren't going to go up, and that would probably be a better feat than picking out the ones that will go up against the US dollar. Now, a lot of times, I've been somewhat critical of a lot of different altcoins, and people will use that opportunity to then sort of brag whenever that altcoin does go up against the US dollar and say something like, see, I told you so, you were wrong, etc. Okay? And my thesis has been the same. In a bull market, most altcoins will trend up with time. We would expect them to go up against the US dollar. It's natural. If the entire asset class is going to multiple trillions of dollars, the general expectation would be that there's a high probability that whatever altcoin you're holding could be going up with it. But what if it bleeds against Ethereum? Now, why are we talking about Ethereum? Normally, when you think about altcoins, I'd say you want to make sure they're not bleeding against Bitcoin. Okay, first of all, make sure they're not bleeding against Bitcoin. Okay, but I would even go one step further than that and say make sure they're not bleeding against Ethereum. I think Ethereum, as I've said before, I think Ethereum should be your altcoin index. Okay, I don't consider Ethereum an altcoin, to be completely honest, as I've said multiple times. But if you're holding altcoins that can't outperform Ethereum, then I don't know. I mean, you have to consider that. You have to take that into consideration. And we're going to go through a lot of altcoins in this video. A lot of them we haven't spoken about before, or very, very seldom we spoken about them before. A lot of them have been requested by a lot of you. And I want to show you why getting overexposed in altcoins, if you're a macro investor, is not the best idea. Generally speaking, this is not financial advice. We're just going to look at the data. So don't take it up with me. Take it up with the data. Now, going back to 2019, this is the first video on this channel. The very first video on this channel, September 20th, 2019. What will you notice? The title of the video, Ethereum, timing the long-term momentum shifts. And you can see we talked about the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation when it was at a valuation of 0.021. Today, Ether Bitcoin is at 0.073. All right. So what does that mean? Well, our thesis that has been holding up incredibly well so far this market cycle is there's going to be an ebb and flow to Ethereum, where sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down against Bitcoin. But the general idea is that over the duration of the market cycle, the Ether Bitcoin valuation should trend higher. Okay, it should trend higher. So if you're going to hold an altcoin, you have to admit that intrinsically it is riskier than Ethereum. Now, I know some people might disagree with that statement, but that's my opinion and it's my YouTube channel, so I'm going to tell you what I think. Bitcoin is about as least risky as you can get in having exposure to crypto that's not a stable coin. All right, so Bitcoin. After that, it's Ethereum. Those are the blue chips. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are the blue chips, and you have altcoins vying for market share. Now, the thing is, if you look at the Ethereum valuation against Bitcoin, for the duration of the market cycle, which again goes back to our original thesis of timing the long-term momentum shift, it's that it's going to trend up with time. Okay, so yes, you want your altcoin to outperform Bitcoin, but if it can't outperform Ethereum, then what gives? Okay, you would just be better off taking on a lower risk Ethereum and probably still seeing better returns. Now, we're not just going to say it, we're going to show you the data. Some altcoins bleed against Ethereum. Some of them oscillate, okay? Some of them trend higher. Some of them actually trend up against Ethereum. But you should note that even the ones that trend up against Ethereum typically don't trend up against it forever. All right, let's go through a lot of different examples. Okay, we're going to look at a lot of, first of all, if you look at Ether USD, for this market cycle. Again, it just is generally trending up with time. This is what we want to see, okay? Ethereum Classic. I've seen a lot of people ask me about this one. Will it likely trend up against the US dollar if Bitcoin remains in a bull market? Yes. But it's 83% down against Ethereum since December 2017. If you say, well, Ben, you're cherry picking the wick, why don't you take it to the candle? All right, fine, it's 81% down. If you say, well, why don't you take it to the low? All right, still fine, it's 51% down against Ethereum. If you take it from over here, January 2020, it's 80% down. If you take it from the low before then, it's 52% down. The only way that you can see that ETC would have outperformed Ethereum is if you cherry pick February of 2021, more or less, and this time frame over here. And then, yeah, technically it's up against Ethereum. But then even then, it went on a rally, but now, again, it's 76% down against Ethereum. So what do you notice? Are there times where the ETC ETH valuation goes up? Yes, but it generally goes down. Okay, so the idea, will ETC likely trend higher? Will it likely trend higher in a bull market? Yeah, probably, right? I mean, a lot of altcoins will. Whether there's justification for them to go higher or not, there's a good chance they'll trend up against the US dollar. But what if it bleeds against Ethereum? Monero is another cryptocurrency, and honestly, I like Monero. It's like the OG privacy coin. Who doesn't like Monero? Will Monero likely trend up against the US dollar over time? Yeah, it probably will, right? It probably will. I mean, unless some really strict regulations come out worldwide, then there's still a decent chance it'll go up against the US dollar as long as the bull market's in full swing. Doesn't change the fact that it's bled 92% against Ethereum since December 2017. You say you're cherry picking the wick, take it to the candle. It's down 90%. Take it to the local bottom, still down 77%. Take it from March of 2020, 84% down. Take it from October of 2020, 83% down. Take it from this bottom, cherry pick the bottom, 36% down. Will Monero likely trend up against the US dollar over time in a bull market? Yes. But what if it bleeds against Ethereum? Dash is another example. And I've seen people recommend this one a lot. And look, as measured from the wick, January 2018, Dash is down 98% against Ethereum. You say you're cherry picking. We'll take it to the candle. 97.5% against it. Let's go to the local bottom. Still down 91%. Take it from this local top. Down 94%. Take it from this local bottom. Down 40%. Take it from this local top. Down 47%. Will Dash likely trend up against the US dollar in a bull market? It's possible. But what if it bleeds against Ethereum? Bitcoin Cash. I've seen a lot of people suggest Bitcoin Cash. Will Bitcoin Cash likely trend up? Yeah, against the US dollar in a bull market? Why not, right? Why not? You measure it from, let's just go from the candle. It's down 93% against Ethereum. You measure it from the wick, which I don't really even know how accurate or how liquid this would have been. It's down 99%. If you say I'm cherry picking, why don't we take it from the local bottom over here? It's down 89% against Ethereum. Take it from the local top over here, 94%. The local bottom from March of 2021 is down 53%. Take it from the local bottom of August 2nd, 2021, it's down 29%. Will BCH trend up against the US dollar in a bull market? Yeah, it's possible. But what if it bleeds against Ethereum? XRP is another one. And we've spoken about this one sometimes, okay? As measured from, say, December 2017 from the wick, it's down 93% against Ethereum. You say you're cherry picking. Well, we'll take it from the bottom of July 2018. It's down 72% against Ethereum. From the top over here in December 2018, down 93% against Ethereum. You take it from the local top in November 2020, down 76% of it against Ethereum. From the local bottom in November 2020, it's down 52% against Ethereum. Is it up if you cherry pick January 2021? It's up 32%. But even then, over the last several months, since April, it's still down 66% against Ethereum. Will XRP likely trend up against the US dollar in a bull market, assuming the SEC isn't coming after them? Yeah, probably. But what if it bleeds against Ethereum? Litecoin is another great example. As measured from April of 2019, It's down 92.5% against Ethereum if you say you're cherry picking. Let's take it from the local bottom of August of 2020. It's down 66% against Ethereum. You take it from May of 2021. It's 65% down against Ethereum. This target I have drawn on here, I wrote this in on October 14th, back over here, just a couple weeks ago or so. And I said, look, this is our target. It's probably just going to keep bleeding against Ethereum. Will Litecoin likely trend up in a bull market and go up against the US dollar? Sure, it's already up 10x this market cycle. But what if it bleeds against Ethereum? Now, we've gone through a lot that bleed against Ethereum and do nothing more. Now we also want to talk about some that don't necessarily bleed, all right? And when you're holding altcoins, you want to make sure you're holding altcoins that at the very least oscillate against Ethereum. At the very least, if they don't at least oscillate against it and give you some trades that you can make momentum shift trades back and forth, then what's the point, right? What's the point? ADA ETH is a good example, okay? It's not a macro bleed, right? It's more or less just been going sideways for a long time. Okay, we've seen these valuations before, and currently it's bleeding against Ethereum. Currently it is. And I've argued for a long time that Ethereum should be a much higher percentage in your portfolio, in my opinion, based on the data, based on modern portfolio theory and maximizing the Sharpe ratio on the efficient frontier. Yes, Ethereum, I think, should be a much higher percentage than any altcoin. And I'll stand by that statement. But at least with ADA, you see it sometimes go up against Ethereum and put in new highs, more or less going sideways, okay? Could that change? Could that trend change? Well, it could. And if it started doing this, if ADA started doing that against Ethereum, I mean, yeah, you have to recognize it and you have to move on. I hope it doesn't do that. I hope it continues to either outperform or at least at the very least go sideways and then sometimes outperform. What about DOT? DOT's another good example. So far, we've seen two local bottoms, more or less. But if it trends this way, if DOT ends up trending this way, then it'll just fall into the same category. But still, right now, it has something to prove. Can it go up another 120% against ETH to make it to a new local high? I hope so. Okay, I hope so. And I have a position in DOT for full disclosure. I have a position in Cardano for full disclosure. I'm also watching closely. Can they outperform Ethereum at key phases of the market cycle? If they can't, it makes more sense to be a lot heavier in ETH. And I would argue it makes more sense to be heavy in ETH regardless. At phases, they'll probably outperform Ethereum, and that's what I'm counting on. I'm counting on Polkadot outperforming Ethereum at some stages of the cycle. I'm counting on ADA outperforming Ethereum at various stages of the cycle, and it's done that, right? They've done that. Make sure, at the very least, the cryptos you're looking at are oscillating against Ethereum. Let's go look at Luna. Luna is one we haven't really spoken about much. Does it bleed against Ethereum? Not really. I mean, it more or less just goes sideways. You can see it's more or less going sideways. We're essentially range bound potentially between this lower bound here and this upper bound up here. So it looks like it's more of an oscillator so far. Times can always change, of course. Okay, they can always change. Avalanche, AVAX, it looks more like an oscillator so far. It's not bleeding over the macro scale against Ethereum. Okay, that's important. You want to make sure if you're holding altcoins, they're not just bleeding against Ethereum constantly, because if they are, what's the point? Okay, Solana has done exceptionally well. And I've said before, a lot of these layer ones are probably going to do really, really well against Ethereum. This one's been doing extremely well against Ethereum since the beginning of this year, okay? And this one looks pretty good. Will it trend up against Ethereum forever? Probably not. Probably not. The Link Marines can attest to that at the very least, right? Because look at what Link did. A lot of people wonder why so many people like Link. Look at what it did, and then you'll probably be able to better appreciate why. Link let's not even take it from the wick, let's take it from the candle here, went up against Ethereum 12,000%, over 12,000%. Link went up against Ethereum. I'm not even talking about the US dollar. I'm talking about its valuation against Ethereum. 12,600%. Okay? Solana right now against Ethereum is up around 2,000%. Do you get it? Right? Do you get why people have been so bullish on Link for so long and why they're kind of holding on to it and not necessarily forsaking it? They're not so quick to forsake Link. Why? Well, For the Solana holders, you know exactly why, right? Because you're watching your Solana position and it's outperformed Ethereum 2,000% this year. Why shouldn't you be super bullish on Solana? You probably should, right? It'll probably keep outperforming for a while, potentially, especially against the US dollar, as long as Bitcoin stays in a bull market. Does it mean it'll outperform Ethereum forever? Probably not. We saw that happen with Link. Eventually, Link turned over. Now, even as measured this way, Link is still up 1,700% against Ethereum, okay? So despite the bleed, it's still up 1,700% against Ethereum, which isn't that far off from where Solana is over the last year. So maybe it makes sense why there's so many people that really like Link, because historically it has done extremely well. Over the last year, it hasn't done very well against Ethereum. And this is something you better believe I'm watching closely, all right? And I'm acting accordingly. If this keeps bleeding, you want to keep an eye on that, okay? If it doesn't, if we can figure out where in the hell Link can hold the line and start moving higher, then we're cooking again. Until then, it's been bleeding against Ethereum. Okay, and that's what we want to talk about, right? That's what we want to make sure that people understand. Can altcoins outperform Ethereum for various stages of a cycle? Yeah, they can. Doesn't mean they're going to outperform it forever. We saw that with Link. Right now, we're seeing Solana outperform Ethereum. And my guess, there's still a decent chance it continues to outperform for the cycle, right? There's still a good chance it does that, okay? At the end of the day, the main thing, in my opinion, to consider when having a basket of altcoins is not whether or not it goes up against the US dollar, okay? Because you can find cryptocurrencies that do that. ETCH has bled a lot, but look at ETC/USD. Let's take a look at that. Oh, it's going up, right? It's been going up. Looks pretty good. Monero against Ethereum, it's been bleeding. What about Monero against the US dollar? How does that one look? It's going up. Dash against Ethereum is bleeding, but against the US dollar, sort of going up, right? BCH against ETH, we already know it's bleeding like crazy. What about against the US dollar? More or less slowly trending higher. XRP against Ethereum, it's been bleeding over the macro scale, but what about against the US dollar? It's moving up, right? Litecoin against Ethereum, it's been bleeding 91%. What do you think it looks like against the US dollar? Oh, it's trending up. ADA ETH, it's more of an oscillator. ADA against the US dollar, it's trending up a lot, right? It's been trending up a lot. DOT against Ether, so far it seems like it could be an oscillator. USD, it's trending up a decent amount. I mean, we're up from $3, $4 up to $52 at the time of this video. Luna, an oscillator here. Luna against the US dollar, trending up a lot. In order for these cryptocurrencies to not bleed against Ethereum, they can't just go up. They have to go up at least in tandem with Ethereum. If they can't, they get left behind, okay? AVAX against Ethereum, it's more of an oscillator. AVAX USD, it's got to be going up a lot, right? It's moving up a lot in order to keep pace. Solana ETH, it looks really good. What does that mean? It means Solana USD is doing pretty well, okay? So, what is the moral of all this stuff? What is the moral of all this stuff when it comes to altcoins? What is the moral? Will they likely trend up against the US dollar in a bull market? As long as Bitcoin's bullish, will these altcoins trend up against the US dollar in a bull market? Probably. So what? A monkey could have done just as much. Throwing a dart at a board and picking out an altcoin. Again, it's not an accomplishment to pick out an altcoin that does well against the US dollar in a bull market. At the end of the day, a lot of altcoins will do well against the US dollar in a bull market. But what if they bleed against Ethereum?